Welcome back for yet another exciting C# web tutorial. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to enhance the BMI program, which you hopefully finished and uploaded for grading. And we're adding additional features and functionality. Okay, the first thing we need to do is I need to extend the GUI down a little bit, like dragging like that, and move the buttons down. And I'm going to add a checkbox and a text box. And how you get a checkbox, let me just make a little more room so you can see, is here's a checkbox, and you drag it over. And here are some of the properties I had to change to have it do it what I wanted. I renamed it CHK, which is Hungarian notation for a checkbox, and I call it check show BMI. There's two more properties which are important you have to set. Check to be true and check state to be checked. You can see there's multiple choices and you want checked. You'll be using checkboxes for one of your assignments called the grade calculator, where you have to drop the lowest grade if this checkbox is checked. And then I add a text box. Oh, one other thing I forgot to do is you see the text here, show BMI results. You enter it right here on the text property of the checkbox. Then I added a text box called text BMI results. Two important things you need to remember when dealing with output only text boxes, which is to set read only to true and tab stop to false. Okay, and why don't we run the program real quick so I can show you something, and then we will get into the code behind it. Now notice it comes up. This is check saying show BMI results, which will make this show up. If I check here, I come in here and I have an if statement. I'm saying if show BMI is checked, we're going to set it to true. Else, we're going to set it to set the visible to false. So if it's checked, which means there's a check on it, we are going to show the text BMI results. If it is not shown or checked, we're not going to show it. So we're going to come through here, and now we're going to hide it because it was not checked. It's unchecked. If it's checked, notice you don't have to put equal true because this property checked is either true or false. So if it's true, which means it's checked, we show it, else we hide it. Okay, see the text box went away. I check it, so this is true, so now we're going to show it. That easy. Okay, now let's get into what other things we're going to do here. So I'm going to type in some invalid numbers just so we can show you the data validation. So we have a checkbox, which I showed you, and now I'm going to show you data validation. We click calculate, and notice I use a byte for the height, and if you remember, a byte can hold up to 255. I don't know anyone who's more than 255 inches in height. I have float for meters, kilograms, and for the actual float BMI index, and I use a short for weight because at times people can be more than 255 pounds, which is what a byte can hold, so I have to go to the next variable up, which is a short. So notice here we're going to try converting. I'm going to convert to a byte the text height, the text property, to a byte. We're going to attempt this. If it works, it will skip over the code. If something goes wrong, like you enter non-numeric data, like I did, it will come to here and show the user an error message. So let's step through the code. You can see it failed because I cannot convert 57x to just 57. So a message box pops up. Okay, right here is the message the user sees. Right here is the title. This tells it to have an OK button, and this tells you what icon we want. And I'm going to show you that code in a minute. Notice you have to give it four things. The message, separated by a comma, to the title, separated with a comma, to the message box, buttons.OK, and you have multiple choices you can pick here. And message box, icon warning. And I set the focus, and I return. Return gets me out of the code because I can't do any calculations, anything down here, if the data is bad. You could just copy and paste my code and just change the variable name, the conversion type, and the text box name, and customize the message and change the text box name here, and you too can use this code. So let's step through it by hitting F10, and notice it brings me to the bottom of the code, and I'm going to hit F5. Okay, I'm going to move the form out so we can see data validation on the weight. So we come through here, and notice this time, since I fixed it, I believe, 57 text can be converted to 57 number. See, it hits that curly brace, and you're going to notice it's going to jump down to here. Okay, it's beautiful. That means the code worked, so skip this. This is another way of doing it. I'm taking the text weight text, trying to parse it to a short data type, and if it works, it's going to take the numeric equivalent of what's in this text box and put it in here. Short try parse returns back true or false. If it's true, we don't need to do anything because it works. If it comes back false, we're going to have a message box pop up with this message, comma, this title, an OK button, and exclamation point. So let's see what happens. I'm hitting F10. Here it comes. So just so you can do a quick compare, message goes here, comma, because we're separating multiple values just like we do in English. The title here, the OK button is because we told it to, and the exclamation there. We click OK, we come back, focus, and return, hit F5, and now we're going to fix this. We're going to do calculate, we're going to step through the code. This converts nicely, and it skips the error handling. This converts, we don't need to do anything because 170 is now converted to a numeric short of 170. And right here I have a piece of code, notice it's an OR, it's this code written a little differently that gives you the same result. Notice we don't have any dummy true part. We do the same thing. Take this text box, try parsing to a short, and out it to a short weight if it works. Remember, this returns a true you can or a false you can't. So if a false comes out, we negate it with this exclamation point, which makes a false true, and the message box pops up. This should work beautifully. And remember, you don't need both. Either this approach or this approach. And again, you can copy and paste this. You just have to change the data type here, the text box name, and then the variable name here. And of course, you have to change this as well if it's a different text box in a different program. So I take the height, which is a byte, and divide it by 3936 as a float, and we put into meters. Then we take the short weight, divide it by 2.2, which is a float. So we're mixing a short and a float, and we're going to put it in a float. And here I take the meters squared and divide into the kilograms. Also, what I could have done is this one line of code here could have been written like this, but we need to do casting. And the reason we need to do casting because math.pow, which stands for math raised to power, returns back a double. So I need to take that double and downgrade it or cast it to a float so I can divide it into a float in kilograms and put it here. You can go this way. People who beginning programmers tend to like this way. More experienced people would write it this way. And now we have a if-else statement. And keep in mind, you just need this line or this line, not both. And here, if the weight, float index, is less than 18.5, it does this. And now we do an else if we check, and we get here, no else if, because if it's none of the matches above, it's this. And this is how you change colors. We put the words obese, and we change the BMI results back color equal color dot red. Here we do color dot yellow or green. And then we output it. Oh, remember, step 4 is we're outputting. Let's see. And there you go. And you could hide it if you wanted to. See the code? It is checked, so we're going to make it hidden now. We can make it come back too. And I'm hitting F5. And there we go.